Myan, thank you very much for your time. What has your organization been able to do?
So what happened is we experienced a drought in KZN in about 20, I think it was about 2015, 2016, I can't remember exactly when it was. So obviously when you go through drought and water shortages, it triggers a whole lot of initiatives that one has to take to try and conserve water. So what started off as something that as necessary has actually evolved into the projects that we have undertaken over the years. So that's where we are in terms of how our initiative started. But to answer your question, there's various stuff that we've undertaken. An example would be the showers. I mean, we've installed the water saving shower heads. I mean, I think we've done about 150 to 160 of those energy saving showers. That basically, literally, cut off 50% of the water usage. From in terms of having a shower instead of a bath. I mean, the other thing that comes to mind in the lodge that when we refurbished, we took the baths out. So you can imagine people when they come into a hotel room, they just open the taps and fill up the bath. So the baths have been removed as well. So those obviously it's efficiency exercises, but also it helps directly save and conserve water. And we have those. What transpired in the beginning, we had to get storage tanks for water, which now led us to have these huge storage tanks. So we've got a lot of water storage, obviously saved from the rainwater. So that has actually assisted us as well. I mean, to think about the future and how where water is going to be, and I mean, if you look at these initiatives that we're doing, my question is always, is it enough? Is what we're doing as a environment enough? Is that going to be enough to conserve water? If you look at water leaks and you look at infrastructure and you look at all of those things that happen around. I mean, is there enough education around water? So I think that's where we all have to focus.
Yeah. And I think to that point, and it's probably a perfect segue to then say that obviously you guys are involved in a combination of water storage and water recovery, but how has the actual just kind of education, as you mentioned, amongst the staff, have you seen a shift in the mindset of staff? Because all these interventions are for naught if your staff, your colleagues don't adopt these strategies proactively.
No, for sure, and I think what has happened is we have a lot of uh, uh, we have a lot of information that we put on our and that's the other thing that we don't use anymore. We don't use notice boards. The old-fashioned notice board where you stick information on a notice. It's all electronic. So the back of our screens are all electronic, which obviously is the savings on paper, etc., etc. But the information that we put on there is most valuable. So all of the articles and all the water saving initiatives, and that's just one part of the information that we share. Obviously, we share a lot of other stuff. But what we find is, example, is that people often stand and listen to those videos because you can do videos now as opposed to just paper and that kind of stuff. So people's attention is drawn to it. The other thing that we've done in the back of house is the taps. We've installed these taps that you press and it cuts off on its own. So literally, you have the water saving immediately. So it's you I don't know. I'm sure you've seen those taps. You press them and then they cut off immediately. Well, not immediately, but they cut off automatically
Yeah.
as opposed to having a person close it. That is one of the initiatives that we done in the back of us, and obviously the staff showers as well. Those have got the same shower heads as the hotel rooms. So I think the more important part is the information that we share to our staff. So all the articles, the recent articles, the videos on the water conservation is on the play all the time. People are watching it. So you know, let's hope that we can get to one person and that person implements it in their houses.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's the bill itself, the water bill and the electricity bill forces people not to waste at home,
Just
especially
in
the
terms of
person that's paying that bill.
mine, just in terms of the amount of water you've been able to store and recover, what is that current number, and what is that against the target that was set? What was the target that you as the GM have in mind?
Well, the water the reservoir that we have, the big reservoir we have, is 450 kiloliters of water. So we don't have capacity to go any further than that. This is huge. I don't know if you've seen a picture of this thing.
Yeah, I
It's
think I've seen
massive.
you stand in front of it
It's
actually.
massive. Yes, yes, it's massive. So, the economics of scale on these things is important as well. Yes, you can put another 450 kiloliters of water, but then the water is not going to be able to be used, if that makes sense.
With all these interventions that Sibaya has put in place, how do you now see the role of the casino within the community? And I know that the project is really as benefited. You've mentioned from a cost perspective, but also changing behavior is a very important thing, especially with a scarce resource like water. But
Yeah, yes.
what is Sibaya saying to its community as a final question? What are you saying about how you view limited resources like water?
So I think what's more important, and we need to understand this, and that's why we're going out into the various, and this is one of the reasons for this interview and the other articles, etc., etc. It's part of the bigger picture. It's part of the other initiatives we're putting in place. Example is the zero waste to landfill. So now we've started the composting and the recycling project. Then we'll put in. We're gonna start we've actually started a smaller version, but a bigger version of the farming is going to start, which means we'll give back into the kitchen. So the waste from the kitchen gets turned into compost, which gets into the garden, and then we buy back from the garden, creating employment. Then we've got the big one, which is the solar power. Now, if you think and talk to the community when you see the solar power project coming on board, just the visual on the solar power tells people that we are aware of the limited resource and this is what we're giving back in terms of the environment. With the solar power, we're actually thinking of phase one, phase two, phase three, in order that we probably be able to give back into the grid. So if we give back into the grid, maybe we can be helping a smaller community down the road with our generation of electricity. So what I'm saying is this is not just one issue. One part, a part of it is the water. Then you've got all the other initiatives that you put into place. And that then shows the communities what we are actually doing in terms of all limited resources. And the way we go out and inform the community is via advertising, is via media, is via these interviews. We've got 60 pads around the complex where we're putting the initiatives we're doing because 2,500 people walk through the doors now, so those people are seeing it. So that's how you can educate people in terms of the initiatives that we are doing in order to save the environment.